What's up everybody, my name is Dwight and welcome back to GeForce Garage. Ben from ModsbyBenQ is in the garage with us today. Not only is he going to tell us about his in-win X-frame with an amazingly clean loop, he's going to show us how he bends his chrome tubes. Well, welcome Ben to GeForce Garage.
Thank you.
So what did you bring us today?
I brought in an in-win X-frame. My inspiration tends to be more industrial, known for my chrome piping. Normally I choose a open air chassis. Tends to allow me to be more creative with the runs because when I use chrome piping, it has a large radius, so I'm limited to where I can place the pipes.
So why do you use pre-chrome tubes versus just doing copper?
I use pre-chrome tubes because it saves time and money. If you want to use copper tubes, you got to actually bend the run, and then once you bend it, you got to send it out to a shop to get it chrome plated. But once they're already chrome plated, I can actually bend it. So it gives me the visual appeal where I can see what it actually looks like.
Nice. So how did you actually get started with this build in particular?
The way I get started with my builds, I tend to put all the parts in, because once it's there, I can actually visualize where the tube run needs to go.
I've noticed that the tubes are kind of all bent sort of the same. Is there a reason for that?
For this build, yes. I try to kind of keep it more of an architectural look. That's why it has the same run to it 3 times.
So was it complicated to work with this tubing?
Yes, it was. You know, it's complicated because it's not like PEG tubing where you can bend it and you can bend it anywhere you want. Chrome-plated pipe is very restrictive. The radius has to be pretty large in order to do that, so you've got to figure out the tube run itself. That's why you see sometimes I use more fittings than typical, because I can only go so far when I actually bend the chrome-plated tubes.
You've probably done a fair share of modding to this case, so what have you actually done?
The whole case comes black and green, but I did a custom paint job gray, left the handles green on the inside. Also removed the motherboard base plate, and I created my own frost acrylic CNC cut to hold the motherboard. And on the other side, I left it kind of open to give me room to do a pass-through.
So how'd you go about making the pass-through? Is that part of the chassis?
Actually, it's not part of the chassis. Where you see where the pass-through is at gives the structure to the actual case. But I decided to create a pass-through between those braces to run more tubes to give me more of the look and the style that I do.
So what are the actual specs of the build?
For motherboard, it's X570 by ASRock with a Ryzen 3700X. For memory, it's 32 gigs Trident Z Royal RGB. For the GPU, it's a GeForce RTX 2080. Custom cables are by Mainframe Customs, and all water cooling is by EK except for the reservoir, which is by Moonsoon.
Okay, so you've mentioned that it's pretty difficult to bend these chrome tubes. So before you leave, do you think you can show me how you did it?
Absolutely.
So we actually have already done a tutorial video on how to bend copper tube, and if you guys are interested in that, there's going to be a link in the description down below. But how is this different than bending regular copper tube?
So when you bend in copper, you got to bend it and then you got to send it off to be chrome plated. What I'm doing differently, I'm actually bending once it's already chrome plated.
Is there any risk that comes with using pre-chrome tube?
There is risk because there's potential where you can crack it. But the way I go around that is using a larger radius on the bender. And this one's designed for a 1/2 inch with a 5-inch radius. So it applies less pressure to the actual tube.
And then what kind of tube are we actually using?
This tube is by Bits Power, and it's 0.70 millimeters wall thickness, which allows you to apply more pressure to the actual bend.
Okay, so what's the first step to bending this tube?
The first step is to actually go in and to make sure you have enough room around here, because since it's designed for a 1/2 inch and we got 12 millimeter pipe, you're gonna have a little bit more wiggle room. So when you go out and you're gonna bend it, that's gonna shift a little because due to the size itself. So I'm gonna take the tube out and lift this handle here. So once it's lifted, this will actually apply pressure to your tube to kind of keep it sturdy. And with this bender, there's actually notches where it shows 0, 45, and 90, and I'm gonna go for a 90-degree bend. So let's do this. So as you're doing it, you're gonna have to actually apply pressure to it because it's chrome plated, so there's gonna be resistance to it. So while I'm doing this, I pass a little bit past the 90 and let it go. Because once you release it, it's gonna try to bend back. So once that's done, take this out, slide it out. And once I have this, I bring this to my actual build, and then I see where I actually need to be cut.
Well, thanks Ben for coming in and showing us your rig and how to bend pre-chrome tube.
Thanks for having me.
Ben has an amazing eye for detail, and it was a pleasure to have him here. If you guys enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button down below, and we'll see you for the next one.